What's going on, folks? I am Dr. Kamal Jones. Welcome to another episode of Kids Today. I'm super happy to be here with you all today. And I have a lot of thoughts, man. I have a lot of thoughts. Like millions of you around the world, I watched closely as we had our two candidates, one of whom will be president of the United States, stand toe-to-toe on that stage. Probably like most people, I did not walk away from that debate feeling wonderful. I think it was a difficult watch in many respects. Biden looked stilted, and his age was showing, no question about it. On the other side, you had Donald Trump, who was extremely coherent, but extremely coherently lying constantly. Today, what I wanted to do was to focus less on the style and less on some of the things that we have all heard being talked about, and really lock in about what this debate means for kids, and what the top few takeaways that I had from the debate were related to children, related to families, because that's what this show, Kids Today, is all about. Okay, my first takeaway, the first place that I want to focus as far as what I observed in this debate was around the issue of climate. Climate has to have been one of the most important issues. It is one of the most important issues of our lifetime, and certainly of the lifetime for children in our communities, in our homes. Children are the ones who are going to bear the brunt of what happens as far as the politics around climate. They are the ones who are going to face the impacts of that. And a climate question came up, and here's what the different candidates had to say about it.
President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. Where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water. He hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. I immediately joined it, because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change. And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
So Donald Trump claims that he had the number one impact as far as environment was concerned. Everyone was super happy about it. People loved it. We had clean water. We had all these sort of things. And it has to be fact checked. And that was one of my big frustrations from that debate, because it's a bold-faced lie. There's plenty of articles, plenty of data that show that Donald Trump rolled back dozens and dozens and dozens of regulations that were all meant to do exactly that thing of keeping our water safe, keeping our air clean, and most importantly, of lowering or decreasing the speed of increase, should I say, of our temperature around the globe. On the other hand, President Biden, through the Inflation Reduction Act, put forward the largest climate bill in the history of the United States. This bill brought forward millions and millions and millions of dollars that will be used to change our climate infrastructure, to make sure that we can electrify our vehicles and our homes, puts money towards a host of clean technologies. And this is the kind of action that we need if we are going to really make a dent in the increasing temperatures that we're seeing around the globe. Next, I want to talk about the issue of childcare. The candidates were asked, both of them, a question around childcare. First and foremost, I want to say that for CNN, I appreciate that they included a question about this issue because it's so important to millions and millions of families throughout the country. And so I'm grateful that we were able to inject that conversation into the debate. The responses from the candidates were woefully inadequate on both sides with this question. Woefully inadequate.
For many families, the cost of childcare for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make childcare more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world. Presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care, he did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
President Biden, towards the end of his time, and at one point earlier in the debate, did touch on the issue of childcare. Regardless, neither candidate gave an adequate response. Donald Trump didn't even answer at all. I think that speaks to a bigger issue, which is that you would never see a response like what we saw for the childcare question to a question about Medicare or a question about Social Security, because our elders vote, right? And our elders maintain a significant amount of political power. You wouldn't see an answer like that around taxes per se, right? Because the wealthy donate to campaigns and they have political power. And so the way that kids were dismissed and the childcare question was used as just empty space for both candidates to say whatever they wanted to about other stuff was totally unacceptable. And what it demonstrates to me is just how important it is that we do work like what we're doing, like advocacy groups continue to do work that they're doing to push and provide kids with increased political power, because that's what we need throughout the country. Because there's no way that we're going to be able to see actual, real, lasting, tangible change for kids until we have the power for children to be able to really be taken seriously when our questions come up and when our issues come up. And so I was disappointed in the answer from both candidates around childcare. And so we need to push both of them, especially whoever the winner will be, to really deliver for kids on this issue. All right, so next topic I want to touch on is abortion. This was a really important conversation and debate that took place around the issue of abortion. And I think that actually we got into some really important nitty gritty related to abortion. It was convoluted as the entire debate was, but there's some important things here.
And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they were all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule.
So at the crux of what Donald Trump talked about in his response around abortion was this idea of states' rights. His thing was, listen, guys, yes, I took out Roe v. Wade I put the justices in place to do so. But all I did was send this thing back to the states, and they all get to make their own decisions. This is the will of the people, and it's trash, right? It's total trash. On the other hand, President Biden has stepped up and said that he would work to codify Roe v. Wade to put a federal protection around the right for women to choose what they are doing with their own bodies. And this is really important for us to dig into. Having a state-based approach for abortion access is absolutely unethical. So often, people do not know that they are pregnant by the time they're 6 weeks along, 10 weeks along, right? People miss periods all the time. Like, this is not an abnormal occurrence. And so in many of these states, if you find out you are pregnant after this early cutoff, you have no choice in the matter. That's number one. Number two, do not think for a second that if the opportunity for a national abortion ban comes across his desk, that Donald Trump would not sign that in a heartbeat. He would, no question about it. And if we really think anything to the contrary, we're setting ourselves up for, once again, the same thing that happened with Roe v. Wade, right? We thought this was safe, and he made the moves that were necessary to get rid of it. I promise you, he would do the same again if a national abortion ban came across his desk. What's important for us as people who are focused and care about kids is to remember that teenagers are the ones who are most likely to be impacted by abortion changes. Teenagers are fewer and fewer, thankfully, of the pregnancies that happen throughout our country, but they are disproportionately high portion of the abortions that take place. This is something that is extremely important for teenagers, number one. Number two, we have to ask ourselves, what kind of world do we want our kids to be living in? I want one day, if I'm blessed to have a daughter, or if I'm blessed to have a son even, I want that child to know that they can make decisions around their body without the government stepping in and interfering on those decisions that they are making about their healthcare. It's about their healthcare, right? I want to know that we can, as a family, make decisions without the government getting in the way of that. And that is fundamentally what is at stake here. Okay, I want to end with this. That debate wasn't the most inspiring thing to watch. To the contrary, I think a lot of us felt uneasy walking away from that debate. It was a tough one, no question about it. I think so often, historically, we, at the end of the day, look at presidents as someone that we want to be able to look up to, somebody that we are excited about and confident in to lead us as a nation. And we are well within our right to have that aspiration. But what we have to ultimately understand is that the choice will be between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And so what we have to do in this moment, my belief, is set aside who are we backflip head over heels in love with, and ask the more fundamental question of who are we more confident that we can trust, and who are we more confident can build an administration, right? This is not one person. It's an administration that has the best interests of children in mind. A kids first administration. And when I look at the two candidates, when I think about the things that both of them did, because we have two candidates who both had their own terms in office, we can compare them side by side. This isn't a theoretical thing with Trump. We know what he did. This isn't theoretical with Biden. We know what he did. When we look at the two candidates who are before us, it is clear to me that only one of those two is someone who I would feel comfortable guiding our decisions around who's going to be in charge of the Department of Education, who's going to be in charge of climate decisions that are being made, who's going to be in charge of moving forward with housing and urban development and putting people in place to actually make those decisions as an administration. It's clear that Donald Trump is not the one to do that. We know what he has done when he has had that opportunity in the past. All right, my friends, that is our show today. Thank you so much for tuning in with us here on Kids Today. I am so excited about all the great things that we have in store for the weeks ahead. Make sure you like the video, subscribe, do all those things, and share your comments, share your thoughts below. I'm curious as to what you all thought about the debate, if there were any sort of silver linings or bright spots that stood out to you, and how you think we might be able to push these candidates so that we can make a better impact for children, because that's what we're here to do. All right, friends, I'll see you next time. Peace.